Hello folks, I hope you're all doing well. In this video, we're going to be looking at a song called Hawaiian Boy. Now, I enjoy digging through old sheet music. The piano bench in my house growing up was just full of sheet music from my mother's childhood and my grandmother's childhood, and it was always fun digging through and seeing what odd sheet music I could find. And I still enjoy doing that today, and now as I'm exploring as much as I can on the ukulele, I've been finding both physical and digital copies of old ukulele lesson books. Now, somewhere in one of these previous lessons, I looked at another old lesson book, and if I manage to find it, I'll put a link in the description so you can check that one out if you wanted to. But this particular one is the Kamiki ukulele method. This particular method was published in 1916, at least the copy that I have was published in 1916. And it's really interesting looking at these old lesson books and seeing how they might differ from lesson books that we might find today, like a Hal Leonard or an Alfred book or something like that. Now, I believe that this piece, Hawaiian Boy, was written specifically for this ukulele method. I have not been able to find any mention of it elsewhere, so I'm assuming that that's what it is. But if you happen to know any more, either about the Kamiki method or about this song, Hawaiian Boy, I would love to hear from you. Now, one of the first interesting things about this song and a lot of songs that are in these older method books and collections for the ukulele is that it is using the D tuning. So all of our strings are tuned one step higher as opposed to the C tuning that we're used to, which sounds like that. So we could play this song the exact same way that I'm going to show you how to play it, but in D tuning, we would be playing this song in the key of G. Today, I've written it out in standard notation and tablature for the ukulele, and we are going to be playing it in the key of F. So we're not going to worry about retuning our ukulele. If you happen to be in that alternate tuning, you can try these same notes or these same positions in your tuning, and it will sound the way it was written. All right, so the song isn't long. We've just got 16 bars of music, and we are playing in the key of F, as I mentioned before. And really the only two chords that are happening in the song are an F chord and a C7. Now we are going to break out of that a little bit as we're plucking through the melody. We're both playing melody notes and chord tones all together. So sometimes we're going to be strumming, but a lot of times we're just going to be picking. But when we're picking these notes, a lot of these notes are just going to be spelling out chords. So for instance, the first two measures, I am playing, I'm essentially holding an F chord shape. I don't need, I'm not going to be playing my G string in these first two measures, so I'm not even bothering to put my finger down on that. I could, but I'm not going to worry about holding down on that right now. I've just got my pointer finger on the first fret of the E string, and I'm going to pluck the notes in this first measure. That was the first two measures. So we're in 3/4 time, so I'm counting in groups of 3, and the first pair of notes in the measure are eighth notes. So it's 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2, 3, like so. And that rhythm is going to remain pretty consistent throughout this throughout the song. So we've got 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2, 3. That rhythm is going to be throughout the song. Ba 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 ba. Okay. So measures 3 and 4 there, that's where things get a little tricky. We have to stretch out a little bit to reach that note. We're reaching up to the 5th fret of that A string. So we start off in a C7 position, playing the 1st fret of the A string, open G string, and open C string. Again, all those notes are in our C7 chord. So when I'm thinking of holding that chord, I'm thinking in that way, right? I'm plucking around this C7 chord. So I'm getting my hand in that C7 position. And then I've got to stretch up to the 5th fret of the A string, and I'm using my pinky to do that. Now when I go up there, I can lift up on my pointer finger if that reach is a little big. If both of your hands aren't reaching, or both of your fingers rather, can't be held down at the same time, that's okay. Once I play this 5th fret over here, I can lift up with my pointer finger and get ready to move into the other position. Now the next position that we're falling into is an F chord position. But this particular F chord, I've got the 3rd fret of my A string held down, in addition to the other 2 frets that I would normally hold for an F chord, the 1st fret of the E string, 2nd fret of the G. So I've got a little bit of extra note holding going on here, right? So I need to be ready for that, going from that big stretch into this chord right here. And that's not the easiest thing in the world, so don't worry if this part takes a little extra time. So as I said, I'm using my pinky finger to stretch up to that 5th fret, and then ideally what I want to do is, I've got these 3 fingers are free. I want to use those 3 fingers to get into that F chord shape. Now you don't have to put all of your fingers down at the same time, as long as you get the next note in the phrase pressed down before you have to play it, then you can put 1 finger down at a time. Obviously, the faster you can get those fingers down, the better, but you've got a little bit of leeway there if you need it. So I'm going to do that little part slowly now. Once again, I'll do that again, those last 2 measures of the first row, measures 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3. Let's move on to the next measure there. Measure 5. And measure 6. Measure 7. And then measure 8. We finish that idea with a couple strums on our F chord. And that F chord, I am not strumming the open A string. I'm just strumming down to the 1st fret of the E string, where my pointer finger is sitting. Now I might do this a couple different ways when I'm strumming a partial chord like that. I could strum down and just make sure that I stop before I strum through the A string. But a lot of times you'll see me plucking those strings like that, using 3 different fingers to pluck those notes. And that can be nice because I have a lot of control over how long I can let them ring. I don't have to worry about overshooting and accidentally hitting that A string up there. And the reason that I don't want to strum that A string, that open A string, is I want the last note for our ear to hear being that F note. And that's really going to give us closure to the musical idea, that musical sentence that we've formed over these 8 measures. I'm going to go ahead and play through measures 1 through 8 because we've got a repeat sign there anyway, so we've got to play through that whole section. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. And that is our first section of Hawaiian Boy. Now, the second section, we go into some strumming, a little bit of what we're familiar with, still keeping that same rhythm, 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2, 3. And we start off by strumming a C7 chord, and then we move to an F chord. And that's all the strumming there is in this song, other than, I suppose, our ending every time we end on F at the end there. But let's do measures 9 and 10 again. So I'm just strumming, if I'm just using my index finger, I'm going down, up, down, 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 up, down, down. I could try different strumming patterns if I wanted to. I could do something like that. Down, down, up, down, 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 up, down. Where I'm using finger, thumb, finger, finger. It's actually got a cool sound to it. I like the way that that comes together. It's got a neat sound. And then after those two measures, we go back into plucking our melody. So that was the same as measure 7. Measure 11 and measure 7 are the same notes. So that's C7 position. And then we end on that F chord. And once again, I'm plucking those notes for that F chord there without my open A string. Measure 13, we go back to what we've played before. We started the song with this little pattern here. Same as measures 7 and 11, measure 15. And then we end on that F chord. Now, it's a very short song, so usually after I play through the entire piece, I like to go back to the beginning and play through the whole thing again. One of the other bits of this is deciding which fingers to pluck our melody notes with. And I am tempted, for the most part, to kind of position my thumb at whatever the lowest note is, or, bouncing back and forth between the G and the C strings. So when I start playing at the very beginning, I'm using my thumb for the C, index for the E, and middle finger for the A. And sometimes I'll alternate my fingers when I get up to that A string and I'm playing multiple notes on the same string. I might start with my middle finger and then play that second note on the A string with my index finger. Yes. That can help keep things nice and smooth. But I could use the same finger, and I'll do that sometimes as well. Either way, it's going to work just fine. As long as it sounds smooth and comfortable to you, then go for it. When I play measure 3, and now I'm spreading out a little bit more. I'm still just using these 3 fingers, my thumb, index, and middle finger. I play the first fret of the A string with my middle finger, open G with my thumb, and open E with my index finger. Now, I am tempted to use my ring finger when I hit the 5th fret of the A string there. Why? I'm not exactly sure. I could just as easily use my middle or index fingers to play that note, but for whatever reason, maybe it's because I'm stretching out a little bit, it's a new note, my hand feels like it needs to use a new finger there as well. Might also be because when I move into that next measure, measure 4, after I've played the 5th fret, I am staying, my next note is also on the A string, and that's where I use my middle finger on the A string, then my thumb on the G string, and my index finger on the E string. So ring finger, middle, thumb, index. When I'm doing that little pattern right there, got my middle finger plucking the A, thumb on the G, index on the open E, and then my thumb switches to the C string when I get to that open C string there. And then I either pluck like that, or I'll use my thumb to strum those last chords. And that's all the different variations of plucking that you'll see. So that's kind of the pattern. if I was trying to make very deliberate choices about where to put my fingers, I would probably make notes on this page. I would print it out, and I would either put finger numbers, like maybe or letters. So in classical guitar, we refer to our fingers with the abbreviations of the Spanish words. So P, I'm gonna ruin any pronunciation that might be here. P, pulgar; I, indus; M, medio; and A, annular. So P, I, M, A. Those are the fingers, and those are excellent abbreviations to write into the music. I especially like using the letters to determine which finger I'm using when I am using tablature, because there are already numbers on tablature. So if I were to number my fingers like I might on piano, that's going to get really confusing looking at numbers next to numbers on tablature. It gets a little wacky. So using letters to indicate your fingers is a really good way to go, whether it's using the English abbreviation for each of those fingers or the traditional Spanish notation. All right, so let's play through the whole thing, see what it sounds like, play along if you're comfortable. If not, just watch what my hands are doing and come back to this video later. 1, 2, 3. Thank you all so much for hanging out and plucking along with me on this tune, Hawaiian Boy. If you're finding this video in the wilds of YouTube, if you're wondering where that tablature is, well, this particular piece is available for free on my website, link in the description. There's also a link to my mailing list, and if you sign up for the mailing list, then you get all of this stuff emailed to you. So you get the link to the YouTube video that you're watching right now, along with any materials and maybe other examples, any other materials that might be relevant to a given lesson. So join up. It's fun and free, and what's better than that? All right, all. Thanks again. Take care, keep on strumming, and I will talk to you all next week.